A very important meeting.
By Michael Carey.
Last night was...
He trailed off, and she could see immediately the familiar confusion burgeoning behind his eyes. It had been a lovely night, mostly. But how it could have been a different kind of night, that fact squatted between them. Oh, Jake, it was great fun. The restaurant,
yeah, I know, but,
He had interrupted her, but impotently. Into the silence flowed an awareness of the unusual calm of their shared house. So nice to be not hungover, or not too hungover.
She said, messing with her pillow. Yeah, it makes a nice change.
He leant on his arm and pulled the curtain back, examined the scene without. She wondered what for.
I think I want to say something, but I'm not really sure what.
He said, gazing out at nothing. Okay. This stalling unease settled then, came and went with them. It sometimes hung in the air like spores. It was the future. It had stalked them since his return. Lucy looked at him and knew he was back in the restaurant from the night before. That moment when the pair of them didn't know where to look, so examined the wallpaper and willed the bloody waiter over to break the tension with his awful banter. All she'd said was something about planning. She thought she'd finessed it, but it could be hard to. Her enthusiasm, she knew, sometimes moved him or them both into a tight corner. Then Jake spoke.
Why don't we have a meeting?
A meeting! A good idea.
And under the covers they went. Glad you can make it on such short notice.
That's fine. Not a problem.
Maybe I should start with the obvious stuff.
He pointed at...
This...
He pointed at the bed.
Was good, I thought.
As she nodded, softly, but definitely.
Yeah, a very good showing by you.
He tipped his hand towards her.
By me.
And he brought them back towards himself.
And you know, in a very real sense, by us.
Concur. Concur. Good synergies.
Oh, excellent synergies. I was very happy with all the synergies.
I could tell.
Yes, some very interesting things were brought to the table.
Oh, yes. We did dally in the dining room downstairs, didn't we?
We took advantage of an empty house in every way.
Rather. And then the sofa. And finally here in the bed, where it's meant to be done.
Yes, well, you are still British, darling.
I am. And it would seem your gap year somewhat invigorated you.
Ah, my gap year!
Yeah, your gap year, yeah? And then, after the pause, after the beat they found so easily, such fun!
A pause, too, on the other side. An acknowledgement of just how good they were together.
Where are you from, anyway? Oh, yeah, Canada, actually.
Yes, I'm from Canada, actually. Listen, Lucy, what I was trying to say.
But he stopped again.
I'm a...
She laid her hands on him. Jake, it's okay. And then they lay there for a spell. She with her head on his chest, in the comfortable spot found or made 3 eventful years ago, and now, it seemed, unearthed again, after their hiatus. This part was always easy.
I'm glad I came back, Lucy.
Me too. She kissed his chest. Oh, you boys.
Yeah, I know.
The alternative to his returning went whistling through the room for a second. She continued quickly. There was some innovation too. That was good. Must minute all that. Try some of that again.
Maybe not the,
And he did a rather odd but effective mime. No, not without some, you know.
Yes, quite darling indeed.
And the two of them thought about doing that, without any of that which they would need, and they both looked at each other and said, Oh, no. She started fiddling then.
Yes, all very highly commendable. That is distracting.
He said, more of an observation than anything.
Oh, okay, seriously.
He said. She stopped, put on her prim face. Jake turned to face her.
Yesterday, all of it was really fantastic. Well, most of it. But...
He leaned back, flattened out the sheet redundantly, and then she saw stillness steal over him the way it did sometimes. He was going to speak, and it was going to be either interesting or funny. This was one of his gifts. She waited. This she could do.
My dad didn't used to say very much, but occasionally he'd come up with a real zinger. He used to say, you got one insight into your life every year, maybe two, if you were a man. One or two clear lines of sight, son, into how things are and how they're going to be.
He looked right into her eyes, managing somehow to heap quiet onto an already still moment, and said,
I think I might be catching up. Or catching on.
Oh?
Yeah, at last. It's marvelous. That it's always been marvelous. And we could go on like this, with holidays together and things talked about or alluded to occasionally for years. Well, for a time.
Okay.
But why bother? All that tension and fretting, I mean, I'm not asking you that question. Well, not quite. But why don't I just not meet the stereotype? For once, just not be a bloke and just speak my mind.
She stroked his chest hair and then looked up into his eyes. I hope I'm not supposed to minute all of that. He laughed, and she rolled in closer. She thought about what she would say carefully. It was her turn to speak now. This they understood. There's a question-shaped gap, then. A light that never goes out.
Yeah.
Then, almost whispered, we can't wait too long, Jake.
Okay.
Because I just can't. It's different for me.
I know.
He placed his fingertip on her fingertip, and then said coolly, almost to himself,
Oh, Lucy. We could do it all before breakfast. And then just enjoy ourselves.
the whole day through, Jake?
Yes. The whole day through.
He rolled on top of her and twined their hands together fully. She slipped her other hand around his back.
Yes. I'll look after you the whole day through. If you'll have me, if you'll let me.
With his eyes closed as if in prayer. And she said yes, yes I will, Jake, through eyes as tightly shut as his, and answering, yes I will.